Curiosity killed the cat, guys. Let's get into this Anthurium, see what this substrate's made of, and get it into my aroid mix. So I'll bring you up to speed real quick in case you didn't see my haul video that I purchased this in. I got this a couple days ago. It's in a unknown to me soil substrate. I'm curious to see what type of soil it's in. Also, I want to get it into my own aroid mix. And essentially the reason for that is because I know my soil mix. I know how quickly it dries out. I know how it behaves in terracotta. I know how it behaves within my house. So even though this may be an acceptable mix that it's currently in, I don't know that mix. I'm not familiar with it. It's in a plastic pot, which again, I don't use. So I want to give this Anthurium Metallicum the best chance I can. And for me, in my world, that means putting it into a potting mix that I'm familiar with. That way, if things start to go bad for this Anthurium, I know what adjustments I need to make. Instead of guessing, is it the soil? Am I overwatering? Am I not watering enough? I answer all those questions if I put it into something that I'm familiar with. So that's what we're gonna do. All right, guys, here's a view you're familiar with. I've got my pot, I've got my window screen, and I've got my Hoya aroid mix. If you are new to the channel or if this is your first time watching and you haven't seen this, I'm not going to go into details now. Just know that there's a lot of orchid bark, there's a lot of perlite, and there's a lot of earthworm castings in this, and very little potting soil. So if you're interested to see the particulars of this mix, I'll attach a video up above. You can check it out there. Anyways, so let's get into what's in here. I can tell by looking at it, and you guys can see also, there is spag moss in there, there's cocoa coir, and then what's underneath that, I don't know. I do have a new growth point here, if you can see. So it's encouraging, but again, like I said earlier, I want to get it into something that I'm familiar with. That way, if things go wrong, I know how to react to it. So let's get it out of its current container, look at the rest of the substrate, see what it is, and then get it into our new pot. Okay, so it looks like it was strictly in spag and coconut coir. And oh, look at that. There's some leca balls. Piece of plastic. Does anybody else pot with pieces of plastic? That explains why it felt so wet, and it also explains why it felt so heavy. So there's a close-up of what it was in. And I am not an Anthurium expert. I am new to Anthuriums. This is probably a perfectly suitable mix for this Anthurium to be in. But we're gonna put it into my mix. I also was curious what the structure of this would look like, which was another reason that I wanted to get it out and get it repotted. This must have came from a pretty massive plant. The Clarinervium I repotted certainly didn't look like this. It's interesting here, there is some potting soil stuck to it. So was it in potting soil prior to it being in this mix? Because there was no potting soil in this. So I don't know. Probably shocking it because it was probably recently repotted right before I purchased it, and now here we are repotting it again. Root structure wise, looks to be okay. I don't really see any root rot, so that's a good sign. It's actually a really good sign. I was worried about that with how wet it felt when I bought it. So I'm just trying to free some of this just straight up potting soil from it. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. It must have been a beast of a plant that it came from. I wouldn't really call this the crown. I think this is the crown of it. I think this is where the majority of my new growth will come from. So this massive chunk here, I'm gonna have to do some research and see what I can learn about it, because that really intrigues me. And there's the root structure. All right, let's get it potted. Window screen, check. Well, that should be just perfect. Pull it up just a tad. And get that leaf hanging outside of the pot instead of tucked inside of the pot. I always think when I'm mixing my soil that I'm making way too much, and then I sit down to film or just to repot something, and I always either don't have enough or get lucky and have just the right amount. Looks like today we're gonna get lucky. All right, there we got her potted up. I'm gonna clean up and we'll do our close up. Alrighty, green thumbs, thanks for watching. I will keep you updated. This is a learning experience for both of us, so we'll see what goes on and how she does. My suspicions are she'll be fine. The Clarinervia is fine in this mix, so you know, there's no reason that this one shouldn't do well in this mix also. But we will keep an eye on her and I will keep you updated. Alright guys, have a great day. Bye.